Why is Frontline so awesome? You might not think it is, but we sure do. Wargaming gets a lot of flack whenever they do something the community doesn't agree with. So we decided to make a video praising this game mode. Don't get us wrong though. There are definitely improvements to be made with Frontline, and we will go through some of them too during this video. But to start off, we will go through many of the things that we think makes Frontline great. Please remember that these are our opinions. It will also be impossible to cover everything in a single video, but we will try and cover as much as we can. We are looking forward to hear your own opinions in the comment section. And while you are down there, don't forget to drop a like on the video. Let's go. First of all, Frontline is a very relaxed environment to play in. When you hit that battle button, you know what you will get. And probably the thing players like the most is that all tanks are tier 8. The only random thing in motion is if you will be defending or attacking. We think it can be very frustrating when playing random battles. You might ready up in your super heavy tank, only to end up bottom tier on Malinovka with 3 SPGs on the enemy team. The very next game you ready up in a sneaky tank destroyer, and then you get Ensk. This uncertainty doesn't exist in Frontline, and makes for a more relaxed experience in our opinion. This might not be a big deal to many players, but we absolutely love the fact that there are no stats in Frontline. You don't see as much toxicity in chat about how good or bad stats people have on their accounts, and you as a player can focus more on having a good time than worrying about your WN8 for example. This also means you might try out different things you normally wouldn't do. We have played tanks in Frontline that we would probably never have played in random battles, and had a wonderful time, like the 59 pattern for example.
What? I didn't choose this flank game. Why did you spawn?
The map. This is both a good and a bad thing. The map in itself is amazing, but the downside is that there is only one map. But this also adds to the consistency of the game mode, as you know what map you will get when you hit the battle button. To make Frontline a more frequent event, there needs to be more maps, but they need to be just as good or better as the current one. If Wargaming would bring a bad map to Frontline, it would completely destroy the game mode for us at AwesomeEpicGuys. The soundtrack. There isn't much else to say than that the soundtrack is amazing and always gets us hyped when the battle starts or is about to end.
Destroy the objective, comrade! Come on, super pushing, don't shoot him! Shoot the objective! We have a mission to complete! Nay! Our 14 health Zwhatsh! Come on! Come on! Come on! Come on! One more! How about a little more damage? A little more damage! A little more damage! Yes! Yes!
Mission accomplished. Good work.
Another thing we love about Frontline is the respawn system. When you have the ability to respawn you become more brave as a player and dare to make brave plays. But as you only get a new tank every 5 minutes, you still can't play too aggressively. The only thing we don't like about the respawn system is that you sometimes get spotted and start taking fire as soon as you spawn.
You killed me first! How was that payback? You killed me, I killed you. That doesn't make payback, that makes it equal. Are you kidding? What kind of is that?
We also think you should be able to pick more carefully where exactly you want to respawn. We don't know how many times we've picked a slow heavy tank, only to spawn miles away from the action.
I'm gonna go with the Mauer pressure. It's gonna take me 4 minutes, which means I can read chat.
Oh. Mauerbrecher. The chat reader.
Do you know the frustration trying to get a good win in random battles in order to get experience and credits in hope to progress down the tech trees only to lose battle after battle? Well, in Frontline winning and losing doesn't matter too much, and this also adds to the relaxed environment. The mode rewards the player and not the whole team, and we love this. The only downside to this is that some players decide to not play for the objectives and just go for more damage. Many players prefer to have a long game to achieve a higher rank than to actually win the battle. We think this could be fixed by simply increasing the experience earned for completing objectives. For example, shooting at the gun turrets give you less experience than shooting at a tank. That is just stupid. You can currently only play Frontline in tier 8 tanks. We think this is a great idea. First of all, remember that Wargaming is a company and they need to make money. If we want World of Tanks to exist in the future, Wargaming needs to make money from the game without hurting the game. So making this game mode at tier 8 we think is a great marketing strategy. First of all, it will encourage new players to grind up the tech trees towards tier 8 tanks, and remember that it's around tier 7 and 8 where you will start to need a premium account in order to run a profit. So Frontline is indirectly encouraging players to buy a premium account. We don't know about you guys, but we think selling premium time is a better idea than selling overpowered premium tanks. More people running a premium account is not really hurting the game in any way. Tier 8 is also a great tier as this is where most of the premium tanks are at. We at AwesomeEpicGuys bought a bunch of premium tanks in the Christmas calendar and during the Christmas discounts just because of Frontline. And we are not talking about overpowered tanks here. We bought tanks like the AMX CTC, 59 Patton, KV5, VK168, 01 and so on. We have also been having a wonderful time playing these tanks. Playing video games should be fun. And we sure have been having a lot of fun in this game mode playing crappy premium tanks.
Push forward, men!
I'm coming.
I know you're coming, Zwhatsh. You're always coming for me. Why am I taking so many bounces?
Because the armor of the K5 is actually good.
It has weak spots everywhere. Oh, dude, look at it again! What? He was like, come here, bitch!
Probably the only downside to this is that you keep seeing many of the same tanks in Frontline. The Frontline matchmaker is overflowing with tanks like the Progetto 46, the Lorraine 40T, the Scorpion, the Defender, and so on. This is not a huge deal to us, but it would be more fun with some variety. Premium ammo is a very sensitive topic to many players. In Frontline you don't see much of it. Why is this? First of all, you never have to shoot at tanks of higher tier. Another reason is that many players decide to play tanks with less armor than usual. Why is this? We think it's because of the map. It's very big, and to get around quick enough, you will need a fast moving tank. And fast moving tanks usually don't have much armor. This leads us to another bad thing about the game mode. We feel that heavy tanks are probably the worst class in the mode, and it is mainly because of the map and the respawn system. The map is simply too big for a no-ho to move around on, so chances are very high that you will either become overwhelmed when the enemy captures a base, or that you will not be able to keep up with your team when they are advancing to the next flank. There are only a few selected areas that we find heavy tanks to be useful, and this is if you even manage to get there after you've spawned. And let's not even talk about the artillery spam that heavy tanks receive as they are such easy targets.
And artillery. And artillery from the other flank is shooting me as well. Hit that? Nope. And artillery again. And artillery again. And artillery again. I just love playing super heavy tanks.
As we mentioned earlier, the spawn system can sometimes make playing slow tanks a nightmare. You might see on the minimap that a certain point needs defending, but when you hit the deploy button, you spawn so far away from the zone that it will take you minutes just to get where you are needed, lowering your opportunities to increase ranks. Or maybe losing the zone altogether, resulting in either getting swarmed by the enemy or getting struck by the airstrike. We will return to this topic later. The repair zones are a great feature in Frontline. Knowing you are able to repair your tank usually makes you play a bit more reckless, and this can result in more entertaining gameplay. Something we don't like about the repair zones is that many artillery players focus these zones in order to deny the enemy a repair, and even non-arty players like to strike these zones with artillery and airstrikes. We don't think this should be possible, and as there aren't that many repair zones on the map, it can be a nightmare for slow moving tanks to reach them, making the heavy tank class even less attractive. And as slow moving heavy tanks usually act like damage sponges, they are in the strongest need of repairs. Another thing we would like to see changed is that you should be able to press a button in order to repair and resupply your tank, and not just by driving through it. We had by accident driven through these repair zones only to resupply a couple of shells, and then the repair zone becomes locked. And just a moment after that you might take damage and need to repair. We love the epic scale of the frontline battles. The 30 vs 30 format is simply awesome. You feel like a single soldier on a huge battlefield. We love this feeling of epic scale. The one bad thing about this is that the more players you add into a mode like this, the less of an impact you will have as a single player. But we really don't mind this issue. We think it adds to the relaxed environment and releases a lot of pressure to perform. Even though Frontline may be awesome as it is, what makes it even more awesome are all the epic rewards you can get. We would have loved the mode even completely without any rewards. The experience and credits you earn in Frontline would have been enough for us. But even more rewards are obviously nice. The only downside to this is that it might force players to play more than they actually would like to in order to achieve these rewards. We would prefer to just play the game mode because we enjoy it, not because of any rewards. But we assume that the rewards will attract more players to the mode and the game in general, so we completely understand why Wargaming is doing this. There is no team damage in Frontline. We think this is great. We know that it removes some of the realistic feel to the game, but we prefer that over getting team killed. Frontline is currently available 1 week per month. We like this idea as you would otherwise get pretty bored of the game mode. The problem however is that some players might not be able to play during this short period of time. We at AwesomeEpicGuys usually play the crap out of the mode during this week, and then we almost puke on World of Tanks for the next week or two. We would probably prefer to have a game mode whenever there are the most people online. For example during evenings and weekends. This way it would not affect the standard matchmaker too much. We think that Frontline has the potential to become a permanent game mode, but for that to happen, there needs to be more variety to the mode, such as more maps. Now let's talk about some parts of the game mode we really don't like too much. This might be because players haven't learned how to properly play yet, but from our experience playing the mode, the attackers always seem to have the advantage. The attackers both seem to have better games overall, and they seem to win far more often than the defenders. When you are attacking, you only need to push forward. That's it. If you run into enemy tanks, you fight them and gain experience that way. If there are no enemy tanks in front of you, you capture the bases to gain experience and finally you will reach the objectives and win the battle. You as an attacker never have to worry about what's behind you. The most common strategy for the attackers seem to be to just rush the weakest flank. When you are defending, you constantly need to predict where the strongest push will come. And the map is divided into 3 main lanes, and each lane might have a few smaller lanes inside them. This makes it very difficult for the defenders to be effective, as the enemy can always just drive around you. It's very common to spawn in a tank destroyer and watch over a zone only to realize that the enemy push is happening on the other side of the map. We think Wargaming needs to make it an easier time for the defenders to defend. We don't have a good solution to this, but here are some ideas. The defenders could have a few extra tanks as an advantage, so the battle might become a 30 vs 35 for example. Or maybe just buffing the HP of the gun turrets. The defenders might also be given a shorter cooldown for gaining new tanks, maybe 4 minutes instead of 5. We really don't know how to solve this problem. Please let us know how you would solve it in the comments section. Another thing we don't like about the mode is the combat reserves spam. There are 30 players on each team and many of them like to use the artillery strike. This gets insane when a lot of players use them at the same time a few minutes after the game has started. This also makes capping bases a lot easier before this happens.
Oh, there is the artillery.
Am I still spotted?
Oh, even more! Are you kidding? 2 artillery strikes! And a third! Are you
We suggest that the cooldown is increased even more, but will also get decreased when the player earns experience. So it would become more of a kill streak system that rewards good plays, instead of just waiting for the cooldown to end. We also don't like that the combat reserves gain more time when you die. This only causes people to use the combat reserves as soon as they are ready, instead of waiting for the correct moment to use them.
would be good. Nay, I'm taking artillery!
Rip. Rip it in. Okay. I'm just gonna try and defend this flank.
We did mention this earlier, but from our experience, lots of players don't seem to care about the objectives too much. We would suggest that players should be given more experience for trying to complete objectives, even if they fail to do so. For example, we think you should be given experience just for capping, even if you don't manage to cap the base to 100%. Obviously there has to be a limit, as otherwise players will abuse this. The gun turrets should also give far more experience points than what it currently does. Another thing we have noticed when playing Frontline is that C is very difficult to capture, while A is very easy. This might be by design, but we don't think it's a great idea, as the end result usually becomes most players rushing A and later D. Zwhatsh also came up with the idea that to make the mode more interesting, there could be class-oriented combat reserves to encourage players to play different classes. For example, light tanks could receive a speed boost reserve, heavy tanks could get an armor buff reserve, tank destroyers an accuracy buff, SPGs a reload buff, and so on. You get the point. We think that could make the game mode more interesting and diverse, and also reduce the artillery strike spam. We think this is enough for a single video. We could go into details and talk about this game mode for hours, but let's have that discussion in the comments section instead. Thank you so much for watching. Please leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. See you next time.
Penetration!